Welcome to the webinar. Today's topic in Vision My Unity is payment removal and reapplication. Removing a payment in Vision or My Unity is always a two-step process. Step one is to remove the payment using the adjustment screen. Step two is to pull up the removed payment and either correct it and reapply it or zero it out. We will be going over several different scenarios today with payment removal and reapplication. If your payment is applied to the wrong person, payment posted for incorrect amount, payment posted with incorrect date, duplicate payment posted, and a Medicare payment posted to the wrong dates of service. We're now going to log into Vision or My Unity, and we're going to take a look at our payment log. The first thing we have is a payment that was applied to Rocky Raccoon, and this actually should have been posted to Honeycomb. So we're going to remove this payment from Rocky Raccoon and apply it to Honeycomb. On your payment log, one of the items of information that you have is the SIS number. The SIS number is the system number that is assigned to the check, and it is unique in the environment. You'll want to make note of this number, either write it down or you can highlight it and copy it, and that places it on your computer's clipboard. Now we're going to remove this check. So I need to take a look at the date of the check, which would be under the date received, 3/1/18. I'm going to go to Financial, Organization, Adjustments, and I want to choose Remove Payments. When I select Remove Payments, I also want to take the check mark out of this option, Auto Remove Associated Transactions. Next, for my transaction date range, I want to enter the date of the payment, which was March 1. I'm going to put March 1 through March 1. I also need to make sure that my entry date range goes back far enough to capture the date that the payment was posted. So I'm going to enter 3/1 and leave that through today's date. And next I want to enter the name of the resident. I'll move that resident over into the selected residence box and click Get Matching Transactions. This will bring up a list of checks that match my criteria. It shows me the check SIS number as well as the check number. I can compare that to my payment log and make sure that it is the right check that I'm trying to remove. It also shows me the check amount, check date and date received, and amount to disperse. I'm going to select the check that I want, proceed to Payment Details. Payment Details shows me where this check has been applied, that is, the charges that it has been applied to. I want to make sure that I fully remove the check, so I put a check mark here next to Select All. Up at the top, I can see the AR amount and the deposit amount, and then if there was any contractual, that would be included here. The deposit amount should be equal to the check amount. Again, I can go back to my payment log and check that. $43.65, $43.65. Next, I'm going to click Adjust Selected, and that brings me to the values to change. The reason for adjustment should be miscellaneous, and then I want to enter notes indicating why I'm removing this payment. And then finally, I'll click the Remove Payments button. This gives me a adjustments journal. The adjustments journal does not show anything indicating that a payment was removed. It only shows the charges that the payment was applied to. So if you choose to print this journal and keep it, you would want to make a note at the top that this was a payment removal. So I've done half of the process, that is, I removed the payment, but I now need to pull up that payment and post it to the correct resident. Removing the payment removes the check off the resident, but that check still exists in your log. So if I were to run a new payments log, this is the same payments log, but if I were to rerun it, it would still show this payment, and this would be the check amount. Then it would show negative amounts to show that it had been removed from Rocky Raccoon. And there would be an amount to disperse because the check had been removed and it was no longer dispersed. That's why this is always a two-step process. One is removing the payment, and then you need to do something with that removed payment. I'm going to go to Financial, Organization, and Payments, and I'm now going to add a payment batch. Now I'm going to add. You can use either the payment checks format or the payment line entry application. Either one of these formats allows you to search for the check by clicking on the question mark where it says check number. In payment line entry application, you want to make sure that your template that's selected is the one called self-pay. Then I can click on the question mark next to check number, and the check search window opens. When this opens, you need to always take out these two check marks. Then I can enter the check sys number. Remember that I copied it to my clipboard, so now I can just paste that number in there. When you do paste the number, there's always an extra space at the end, so make sure you backspace to take out that space, otherwise it won't find your check. Click search. It should bring up the check with the sys number, the check number, and the amount. I'm going to highlight that and click select, and then it fills in the check information for me. I now need to complete this just like I normally would by entering the deposit payment amount and selecting the resident. Select the plan ID, click submit. I can now go to edit payments, just like I normally would, and make sure that the payment is posting correctly. View report. And this shows me that the payment is being applied. There are no errored transactions. So I'm now ready to post this report or post this batch. I'm going to click Post Payment, Payment Journal, and I would print this for my records. That was our first scenario, was our payment was applied to the wrong person. Our next scenario is a payment that was posted for an incorrect amount. Looking back at our payment log, we have a payment for Fiona Finch, and this payment was posted as $56.82. It actually should have been just $56.80, $5,680. So this was just a typo. We've got an extra $2 in there. To correct this amount, we need to remove the check, just like we did before, and then pull up that same check, correct the amount, and post it back to Fiona Finch. So the date of this payment is 3/7. Here's my check sys number that I want to make a note of or copy. I'm going to go back to Vision and Adjustments, remove payments, take out the check mark for auto remove associated transactions. My date was 3/7. And then my entry date range needs to go back far enough as well. Then I'm going to select my resident. Move her into the selected residence box, get matching transactions. Here it brings up my check for $56.82. I'm going to select that check, proceed to payment details. Here it shows me where the check has been applied. I'm going to select that payment. Here's my deposit amount, and then adjust selected. And here I'm going to enter a reason for my adjustment. Remove payments. There's my journal. So if I want to keep this, I would print it and make a note at the top that this was a payment removal. So I've done the first half. I have removed the payment. I now need to pull up that same payment and reapply it. So once again, I'll go to Payments, Add New Batch, you can use payment checks or payment line entry. Make sure you have your self-pay template. For check number, I'm going to click on the question mark, take out those two little check marks, and paste my check sys number. Notice there's an extra space, so I want to take that out and click search. And it brings up my check. I want to select it. And remember that our check amount was incorrect. It's $56.82, but it needs to be $56.80. So I'm going to correct that here. Click the little X and it takes it out. I'm going to put in the correct amount, $56.80. And it's just like posting a brand new check. I'm going to enter the deposit payment amount. Pull up the resident, the plan ID, submit, and edit payments. There's my payment being applied in the amount of $56.80. There's nothing to disperse and no other errors, so I can post it. And print my posted journal for my records. Our third scenario is a payment that was posted with the incorrect date. Looking on my payment log, I found a payment for Yolanda Yak with a date of 3/7, and it actually should have been February 7th. So I need to correct that date. Unfortunately, we can't just correct the date. The only way to correct it is to remove the payment, pull the payment up, and then change the date. So I'm going to go back to Adjustments, remove payments, take out the auto remove associated transactions, and this was posted with a date of 3/7. And then I'm going to pull up my resident. Brings up the payment. I want to make a note of that check sys number. Now your CheckSys number shows here. If you put it on your payment log, you can highlight it and copy it. Proceed to payment details. Select all. Make sure that it adds up to the amount of the payment. And adjust selected. So there I have removed my payment. I now need to pull it up and correct it. So I'll go to Payments, Add New Batch. Now my payment batch is open. The first thing I want to do is make sure that my template is self-pay. And now I need to pull up that check that I removed. So I'm going to click on the question mark next to check number. Take out the 2 check marks. Paste that CheckSys number in. And don't forget to backspace the extra space out and search. There's my check. So I'm going to select it. You see it fills in the check information. Now I can make any corrections to the check that I need to make. And in this instance, it's the date that needs to be corrected. It was entered with a date of 3/7 and it should have been 2/7. I'm going to enter the deposit payment amount, $732, and then enter the resident name. And the plan ID, and submit. So now I've corrected that check, and I'm going to edit payments and review my batch just like I normally would. Once this comes up, I just click View Reports. Make sure that the date is actually 2/7 that I changed it to, and it is applying the payment. There's no errored transactions. So I'm ready to post this. And print my payment journal. Now if we go back to our payment log, our next scenario is Susie Squinney, who has a payment that was posted twice. You can see here that it's for the same amount. It's the same date, 3/21. And the same check number, 1689, but the CheckSys numbers are different. So this check, for some reason, got posted twice, and I want to remove this second one. So I'm going to go to Remove Payments. I want to make a note of the CheckSys number. Up to the resident. So it brings up 2 checks. You can see that both of them have the same check number, same amount. If I check back on my payment log, I can see that the check I wanted to remove is this 407-8788. So make sure I select the right one. Proceed to payment details. I'm going to select all and adjust selected. And there's my adjustment journal. Now this time the situation is a little bit different. And remember, it's always a 2-step process. The first step is to remove the check. The second step is to do something with that check that you removed. So again, I'm going to open a payment batch. Make sure that your self-pay template is selected. You're going to do this exactly the way you did before. Click on the question mark, take out the 2 check marks and paste in the SIS number, backspace, search, select the check. But now that we've pulled the check up, instead of reposting it, we just want to get rid of it. So to do that, we have to change that check amount to 0 and click submit. I don't want to post it anywhere. So all I have to do then is actually just delete this batch. So I'm going to close it, select my batch, and click delete batch. Now I can run a new payments log and make sure that my corrections went through. Here's my new payments log. If I scroll down and find Susie Squinney, here is the original payment, which I didn't touch, but here's the removed check. Remember this check SIS number? Now the check amount is 0, and over here under the AR amount column, I can see that it was first entered for $46.34, and then it was removed, and that's the negative. Since I zeroed the check out, it's not going to impact my total, so my cash will balance. We now have one more scenario that we're going to run, and that is removing a Medicare A payment. I'm going to change to my health center, and I'm going to run a new payment log. Here we've got a payment on Bonnie Butler, dated 3/27. Everything looks correct. There's nothing to disperse. However, what happened was this payment was posted to January dates of service, and it should have been posted to February dates of service. I need to remove this payment and apply it to the correct dates on Bonnie Butler. Her payment is part of a $30,000 Medicare check, and this Medicare check has been applied to several other people. That doesn't mean that I need to remove the entire check. I can remove just Bonnie Butler's part of the check and then repost that part of the check to the correct dates without disturbing the rest of these payments. So once again, I want to make a note of the check SIS number. I'm going to go back to Adjustments, Remove Payments, take out the Auto Remove check mark, put in the date of the payment, which was 3/27. And select the resident. Then get matching transactions. This is going to bring up my Medicare check. I can see my check SIS number, my EFT number, and the amount of the check for $30,000 plus. I'm going to select that check. So at this point, it's showing the entire check, and proceed to payment details. Now, since I selected Bonnie Butler, it's only bringing up her part of the check. So even though that was a $30,000 plus payment, when I select it, up at the top here, it's showing me only her part of the payment, which is what I want to remove. It also shows me that there was some contractual applied with that payment, and that will be removed as well. You can see that contractual down here in this line. as well as up here. Adjust selected. There's my adjustments journal. I'm now going to go back to payments, add new batch. Since this is a Medicare payment, I want to use my payment checks format. So I'm going to switch to that tab, but I use the same process. Where it has the check number, I'm going to click the question mark, brings up the same payment check search. I want to uncheck the little check marks, paste my check sys number, take out that extra space, and click search. And there it's going to bring up the $30,000 Medicare check. So I'm going to select that. Now here you see the check amount is $30,000 plus, but the net amount left is the amount that needs to be applied to Bonnie Butler. The full amount of the check compared to the net amount left. The net amount left tells you there's this much left to disperse on this check. I'm going to click Select Save Check, and I need to make my dates equal to where I want to apply this check. Select payer type, which is Medicare A, summarized by month. And I'm going to use search options to pull up Bonnie Butler. Now here it is brought up her balance, this $11,000. I can apply that payment and then determine what to do with the rest of this $808. If it's the sequestration, I'm going to enter that under contractual adjustment, click Submit, edit payments. Now review my payment, make sure that everything is correct, and I'm ready to post. Thank you for attending our webinar today. Remember that removing a payment in Vision or MyUnity is always a two-step process. The first step is to remove the payment. The second step is to pull up the removed payment and either correct it and reapply it or zero it out. Please watch our other webinars regarding how to handle a check that is returned for non-sufficient funds and how to correct amounts to disperse on your payments log. Thank you.